Hello again, my lovelies. So now we are looking at the other side or the next part of percentages. These are all application problems, but these are actually the kind of application problems you guys might see. Certainly the first one. You may not have to calculate it that much, but this is what's going on in the behind the scenes. So our first one is sales tax. So it's a tax based on a percent of the cost of the merchandise. So here, the tax rate times the cost of an item is going to give us the amount of sales tax. So the tax rate is our percent as a decimal. But we're writing it in the table here as a percent. But when we use it in the formula, we need to use it as the percent over 100. You can actually think of these as is-of statements as well. 45 is 7% of, oh, no, sorry, 45 is the of. 7, X is 7% of 45. But here, if we focus on what the numbers are instead, the tax rate times the cost would be 7 over 100 times 45. We get 3.15. Then the total cost, we're going to add that to the 45. And we get 48.15. All right, so now I have my costs and I have my amount of tax. Now I want to use that to figure out the sales tax rate. So my is and my of, 1.29 over 21.50 equals our unknown percent over 100. 1.29 times 100 divided by 21.56. And that is the percent number. And then our total cost, well, we just add. Could have done that first, actually. Plus 1.29, 22.79. All right, now a little backwards. This is telling us what the tax is and telling us it's 4%, and we got to figure out what the cost of the item was. So I have my part, $6.20, but my unknown is now down here, and I have 4 over 100. 6.20 times 100 divided by 4. 155. So this particular item cost $155, and we're going to add $6.20, and we get $161.20. Now this last one, I got to think a bit. I have the total cost and I have the cost of the item. So how would I get the amount of tax? We're going to subtract. So there, 79.92 minus 72. So my amount of tax is $7.92. Now I can do just what I did on B, the blue one over here, to figure out that percentage. So that is going to be 7.92 over 72 equals P over 100 times 100 divided by 72, 11%. I believe ours here is 8 1/4. Just thinking out loud. All right, but that is how sales tax works when you're looking at things. Now we've got a couple more just written out. So a refurbished desktop computer sells for $283. Wow, it must be as old as me. If the tax rate is 6%, what is the total bill? So they've given us the sales price, like the price before tax and the tax rate, and we have to figure out what the final amount is. So we have to figure out what 6% of 283 is, and then we got to add it to 283. So we're asking, what is 6% of 283? And we get 16.98. So that is the amount we're going to pay in taxes. And then we're going to add that 283 to that. Yeah, that definitely looks like a price now. $299.98. See, just under $300. Yeah, I think these notes were written several years ago. All right, so Axel booked a trip to Cancun for $783. The total cost after tax was $829.98. So we have to figure out how much was the sales tax. So how much did he pay? This is asking for a dollar amount versus B, what is the sale tax rate, is asking for what that percentage would be. So the how much, we just got to subtract. 829.98 minus 783. We get 46.98. Now the sale tax rate, we would do that part, 46.98 over the 783. So we can figure out our percent out of 100. 100 divided by 83. 6. And then this one was dollars. All right. It just, the one before was 6%. And I was thinking before the numbers were kind of familiar because it was 283. And this was 783, but worked out kind of similarly. All right, we'll stop the video here and then come back for the next one.